Welcome to Coffee Break. Thoughtful conversations for a busy world. Let's begin.
Welcome back to the deep dive. I have to say, looking at the stack of notes we have for today, I've been feeling a little bit called out all morning.
Oh, yeah. Called out.
Yeah. You know that feeling when you read something and it just perfectly describes a feeling you've had for years, but you never actually had the vocabulary for it. And then suddenly it's just right there on the page, basically staring at you.
It's the aha moment, but sometimes the aha hurts a little bit, you know?
Exactly. It stings. We're tackling a topic today that I think it sits right at the very center of the modern experience. And I really don't say that lightly.
I agree.
It's this paradox that we are all, I think, living in, whether we want to admit it or not.
It's the defining paradox of the digital age, really.
Here's the setup. We are, without question, the most visible generation of humans in history.
By a long shot. It's not even close.
Not even close. I mean, just think about your morning today. You probably woke up, checked a screen, maybe you posted a story, updated a status, liked a friend's photo. We are constantly broadcasting. We are constantly being, quote unquote, seen.
The sheer volume of information we transmit about ourselves on a daily, even hourly basis is just staggering compared to even, 20 years ago.
Right. And yet, and here's the kicker. This is the part that stings. Despite being seen by hundreds or maybe even thousands of people every single day, so many of us feel less known than ever.
It is a haunting contradiction, isn't it? You could have 1,000 eyes on you, literally watching your breakfast, watching your vacation, watching your gym progress, and you can still go to bed feeling completely and utterly invisible.
Invisible in the ways that actually matter.
The ways that matter to your soul, yeah.
That is exactly what we are unpacking today. And I want to speak directly to you, the listener, for just a second, because I know this feeling. If you are someone who feels, plugged in, you're keeping up with all the group chats, you're posting the professional wins on LinkedIn, you're doing all the things that connected people are supposed to do, but you still feel this distinct lack of depth or resonance in your relationships. This deep dive is for you.
And I think we need to do a really serious tone check right out of the gate here.
Okay, yeah.
Because I know where people's minds immediately go when we start talking about connection and phones.
Oh, absolutely. The dreaded lecture, phones are bad.
Right. Social media is evil. We are not here to tell you to delete your apps. We are not here to tell you throw your smartphone into the nearest ocean and go live in a yurt somewhere.
Thank goodness, because I genuinely need my phone for maps. I would be completely lost without it, literally.
Exactly. Technology is neutral. It's just a tool. We are not blaming the tool today. We're taking a more philosophical look at human behavior.
At how we relate?
How we relate to one another.
Yeah.
So, this isn't a tech support episode. It's a psychology episode.
So let's introduce the source material that is guiding us through this modern existential crisis.
A gentle guide.
It's a text titled The Mirage of Visibility, Attention versus Intimacy. And we are specifically pulling the core concepts from a discussion that's known as Coffee Break 23.
That title alone, The Mirage of Visibility, it gives you such a vivid image of exactly where we're going with this.
It really does. And the mission for this deep dive is pretty specific. We want to unpack the difference between two things that, on the surface, look almost identical.
They do. They masquerade as each other.
But they taste completely different when you actually consume them. Attention and intimacy.
And that is a distinction that I think most of us have lost. We've sort of conflated the two. We think they are the same commodity, but they are absolutely not.
So the headline claim from the source is basically this. Being visible is not the same thing as being connected. Which, when you say it out loud, it sounds so obvious. Like, duh, of course.
Of course it's not.
But in practice, and the way we actually live our Tuesdays and our Wednesdays, I think we confuse them constantly.
We absolutely do. We mistake the metric for the feeling. We mistake the view count for a handhold.
Yeah.
And that shift is fundamental. And it goes unnoticed because it feels like connection. It mimics it. But as we're going to see, it's often just a performance of it.
All right, let's get into the meat of this. Part 1 of our outline here is titled The Path of Least Resistance. And it starts with a quote from the source that I actually, I pushed back on it when I first read it.
Oh, interesting. Which one?
The quote is, "Being visible is easier than being understood."
Easier than being understood.
Okay. See, here was my immediate issue. I don't know if I agree that being visible is easy. Is it? Maintaining a social media presence is work.
It is work, yeah.
You have to take the photo, you have to edit it so the lighting isn't terrible. You have to write a caption that's funny, but not trying too hard. Then you have to engage with the comments.
Yeah.
It feels like labor. So when the source says it's easier, I'm like, have you tried managing an Instagram feed lately?
That is a completely valid pushback.
Right.
There is definitely an administrative labor involved in being visible. It takes time and thumb energy.
Right. Thumb energy.
But I think the source is talking about a different kind of effort. It's talking about emotional calories.
Emotional calories. Say, break that down for me.
Think about the risk profile of each action. When you are being visible, let's say you're posting a highlight from your weekend, you are the curator. You are the museum director of your own life.
I like that. The museum director.
You control the angle. You control the narrative. You get to delete the 3 photos where your eyes are half closed or you look a bit insecure, and you post the one where you look confident and happy.
True. It's a completely controlled broadcast.
Exactly. It's polished.
Yeah.
And even when you're posting something messy, like the, oh, look at my messy desk, I'm so relatable post.
Yeah, the curated mess.
You're usually curating which mess people get to see. It's a very safe, surface-level presentation. There's very little emotional risk.
Okay, I see that. It's a walled garden. It's controlled.
Right. Now, compare that to being understood. To be understood requires you to explain the context. It requires vulnerability. It requires you to let someone see the things you didn't curate.
The unedited footage, the director's cut nobody was supposed to see.
The unedited footage. To be understood, you have to explain the complex emotion that's happening behind the photo. Not just, here is me smiling at the party, but here's me smiling at the party while feeling terrifically anxious that nobody actually wants me there.
Oof. Yeah, that is a heavy, heavy lift.
It is. So think about that energy expenditure difference we mentioned. Posting a status update that says something like, tough day at work, I need wine.
We've all seen that one.
It takes 10 seconds. It signals distress, sure. It makes your struggle visible. But to actually call a friend and explain why the day was tough, to unpack the insecurity you felt in that meeting or the deep fear you have that you aren't good enough for this project.
That's a whole other level.
That burns massive emotional calories. It requires trust. It's an investment.
That is emotional labor, and it's scary. You're opening yourself up to judgment.
It's terrifying.
Right.
And because we are, just biologically wired to conserve energy, and because modern life leaves most of us feeling pretty exhausted,
completely drained,
we often default to the path of least resistance. We choose visibility because it's a shortcut. We have a deep fundamental need to be known, but being known is hard, scary work. So we settle for being seen, which is kind of the diet version.
Which brings us right to that central metaphor in the title, the mirage of visibility. I want to stay on this for a minute because I think it's just so perfect for what we're describing.
It's the perfect visual. Let's really, put ourselves there for a second. You are in a desert.
Okay, hot sun, sand everywhere, feeling a bit parched.
And you are thirsty. Now, in this analogy, the thirst is our fundamental human need for connection, for intimacy. We are social animals. If we don't connect, we wither. So we are desperate for it.
Right, it's a survival need.
A core survival need. So you look out at the horizon and you see something shimmering. It looks like water. It looks like a beautiful, cool lake.
And that's the feed. That's the notification badge, the promise of interaction.
That's it, exactly. From a distance, social engagement looks like sustenance. It looks like a real community. You see hundreds of people interacting, talking, liking, commenting. Looks like a thriving village where you can be safe and known and loved.
So you run toward it. You post, you scroll, you engage, you put your energy into it.
But when you finally get there, when you reach the spot on the horizon, what is it?
It's just sand.
It's just more sand. It's dry. It's empty attention. You can't drink it. A like contains zero nutritional value for the human soul. A view count cannot hold you when you are crying in your apartment.
But the real trick of the mirage, the cruelest part, is that it just keeps moving, right? It doesn't disappear.
That's the tragedy of the whole thing. You get there, you realize you're still thirsty, but you look up and you see more shimmering water further out, another horizon.
And you think, oh, I just didn't do it right.
You think, maybe I just didn't get enough likes.
Yeah.
Maybe my post wasn't good enough. Maybe if I get to 10,000 followers, then it will turn into real water. Then I'll feel the community.
So we just keep walking deeper and deeper into the desert, getting thirstier.
We keep chasing the metric, hoping that at some point it will magically convert into the feeling. But it never does, because visibility is a fundamentally different substance than understanding. One is sand, one is water. You cannot drink the sand no matter how much of it you accumulate.
That hits hard. I have definitely been guilty of that exact cycle. You post something, the numbers go up, you get that little dopamine hit of, people care, I'm being seen.
The little ping.
Yeah, the ping. But then an hour later, the silence in the room feels even louder than it did before.
Because the dopamine wears off, and the oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the intimacy hormone, it never arrived in the first place.
Yeah.
You got the sugar rush, but you never got the meal.
So if visibility is this path of least resistance, the sand we're all settling for, how does this actually play out in our relationships? This leads us to the second big part of our discussion, the displacement mechanics.
Displacement is the key word here. And this is where the source gets really, really interesting. It argues that we aren't just adding social media on top of our old relationship structures. It's not an and.
Okay.
It argues that sharing replaces relating.
Sharing replaces relating. That is a bold claim. And again, just to play devil's advocate, I want to challenge this a bit. In common language, we use those words almost interchangeably. I say, I shared this with my friend, or I related this story to them.
We do. In everyday speech, we treat them as synonyms. But in the context of this analysis, they are defined as almost opposing forces. We have to break down the definitions they're using to really get the argument.
Okay, let's do that. Let's define sharing in this specific context.
Sharing, as it's defined here, is broadcasting information. It is a one-way transmission. Here is a picture of my lunch. Here is a link to an article I read. Here is a photo of my kid's first steps. I have a piece of data, and I am distributing it to you.
It's purely outbound, information out.
Correct. Now, relating. Relating is a two-way exchange. It's about resonance. It's about empathy. It isn't just, here's a fact about my life. It is, here is how I feel about this fact, and I am actively listening to how that makes you feel in return.
I see the distinction now. Sharing is giving you the news headlines. Relating is sitting down together and discussing what the news actually means to us.
Precisely. And the shift that the source describes is that we have, as a culture, confused the act of distributing information about our lives with the act of bonding over that life.
I have a personal example of this that just pops into my head, and it's a little embarrassing, actually.
Let's hear it. These are the most useful examples.
So my sister lives in Ohio. I live here. For years, we used to talk on the phone, at least once a week, a real conversation. But lately, I feel like I know exactly what's going on in her life because she posts on her stories constantly.
You're getting the updates. You have the data.
I have all the data. I know she just painted her kitchen sage green. I know her dog had to have surgery last week. I know she's obsessed with this new sourdough recipe and it keeps failing.
Okay.
So because my brain feels like I know all this, I haven't actually called her in 3 weeks.
There it is. That's the displacement.
I see the photo of the dog with the cone of shame. I double tap the heart. Maybe I comment, poor pup. Hope he's okay. And my brain literally ticks a box that says relationship maintained.
That is the displacement mechanics in perfect, painful action. The broadcast has replaced the conversation. You feel like you've connected because you consumed her visibility.
Exactly.
But have you actually related to her? Do you know how she feels about the dog surgery? Is she stressed out? Is she worried sick about the vet bill? Is she feeling guilty?
I have absolutely no idea.
You don't know. Because you settled for the share instead of the relation. And the most dangerous part is that she probably feels the same way from her end. She sees that you like the photo, so she thinks, oh, he knows what's up. He cares.
Oh, wow. So we're both living in this comfortable illusion of connection.
You're both in your own little mirage.
Right. This brings up this other concept from the source. Broadcasting versus being genuinely known. Puts a lot of weight on this broadcast mindset. Think about a news anchor for a second.
Okay, sitting at the desk, very professional, reading the teleprompter.
They're speaking to an audience. They're projecting a polished image and a set of facts to a faceless mass of people. When you broadcast, even if it's just to your 300 followers, you are, by definition, speaking to an audience, not to a friend.
And the source says you cannot be known by an audience.
Structurally, it is impossible.
Explain that, because I think a lot of people would argue with that. People feel like they know celebrities. They feel like they know their favorite influencers. They feel like they know the persona. They know the broadcast. But being known in the deep sense of intimacy requires reciprocity. It requires the other person seeing the parts of you that you didn't script.
The messy part.
The messy parts, the boring parts, the insecure parts. It requires safety. An audience consumes content. A friend holds space. Those are fundamentally different actions.
That distinction consuming content versus holding space. That is crucial.
It is. An audience is, by its nature, projecting onto you. They see what they want to see in your content. You can only be known by individuals. Intimacy is a granular one-on-one phenomenon. It doesn't scale. You can scale attention to millions, but you can't scale being known.
The source poses a reflective question here, and I want to put this to the listener because it's a bit of a gut check. It really is.
Yeah.
The scenario is this. You share a struggle online. Maybe you post a vulnerable text post about having a really hard time with your mental health.
Which is a very common and often very brave thing to do now.
Very brave. And let's say you get 50 comments. People saying, you got this, sending love, so brave for sharing. You know, heart emojis everywhere.
Lots of engagement. The algorithm loves it.
The algorithm loves it. But no one actually calls you. No one texts you and says, hey, I'm 5 minutes away with coffee. No one comes over to your apartment to just sit on the couch with you. Have you related to anyone? Or have you just broadcasted?
That question keeps me up at night.
It's brutal.
It is. Because it feels like support. And I want to be really clear. Those 50 people who commented aren't being malicious. They probably mean well. They are offering the only currency the platform really has, which is attention.
A digital nod of acknowledgement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But have you been supported? Has anyone actually sat with you in the pain, or did you just perform your pain for an audience who applauded your bravery and then kept scrolling to the next piece of content?
It's almost like we've created a system where we settle for the applause because the actual sitting with someone is, I don't know, it's awkward or it's time-consuming or it's emotionally taxing.
And that leads us perfectly into the incentives of this whole system. Why do we prioritize the broadcast over the phone call? Why do we keep choosing the sand over the water?
This is part 3, performance and presence. The source argues pretty bluntly that modern life rewards exposure over connection.
Rewards. That's a behavioral psychology term right there. We are conditioned organisms. We repeat behaviors that get rewarded. It's that simple.
So let's look at the scoreboard then. What are the rewards for visibility, for exposure?
Oh, they're tangible, they're immediate, and they are addictive. You get validation. You get dopamine hits from notifications, you get social capital, you get exposure, you get a literal score. You post a photo, you get 100 likes. That is a quantitative reward your brain can count.
It physically feels good. Your brain goes, ding, I did something right, people approve.
Exactly. Now, contrast that with connection or presence. What is the reward for sitting quietly and listening to a friend cry for an hour?
Well, I mean, the reward is a deeper friendship, love. The satisfaction of helping someone.
Sure, but those are abstract. They're slow acting. And crucially, they are invisible. There is no counter that goes up on a screen. You don't get a good listener badge on your profile. No one else sees it. It is invisible labor.
It's the tree falling in the forest. If nobody saw you be a good friend, did it even happen?
That's the insidious question the system asks. And in an economy, an attention economy, that values visibility above all else, the invisible stuff gets deprioritized. We are conditioned to seek the reward, and the reward is exposure. So we prioritize behaviors that generate that exposure.
Which leads to the source's next devastating phrase, and this one really hit me. Performing replaces presence.
This is the cost. This is the bill that comes due for chasing those rewards. Performing replaces.
But I think it's much more subtle than that in our daily lives.
It is. So let's define them. Presence is being with someone or with yourself in the moment. It is unedited. It is messy. It involves dead air, awkward pauses, real eye contact. It is fully inhabiting the now. In that moment, you are the protagonist of your own experience.
You're in it. And performance.
Performance is curating the moment for external consumption. It is the act of stepping outside of the moment to frame it for an audience.
I feel this tension constantly. The urge to capture you're at a beautiful concert or a really special dinner or your kid's doing something adorable. And the immediate instinct, it's like a reflex now, is I need to record this. I need to post this.
And I want to point out the huge cognitive cost of that urge, because the source is very clear. You cannot fully perform and be fully present at the same time. It is cognitively impossible.
Wait, really? Why can't I do both? Can't I record the concert and enjoy it?
You can enjoy it, but the nature of the enjoyment fundamentally changes the moment you pull out the camera or even the moment you start composing the witty tweet about the moment in your head. You have shifted roles. You are no longer the experiencer. You are the documentarian.
You've become the director of the movie of your life instead of the actor in it.
Correct. Your brain is now asking, how does this look? instead of how does this feel. You have stepped out of the intimacy of the moment to package it for an audience. You are viewing your own life through a lens, both literally and metaphorically.
That is, yeah. You're removing yourself from the now in order to preserve it for later, but in doing so, you kind of ruin the now. You poison it.
You hollow it out. You turn a lived experience into a piece of content. And again, we do it because the content gets rewarded, the video gets likes. The lived experience just fades into a private memory. But the source argues that we are losing the richness of our lives to this constant performance. We are trading the meal for a photograph of the meal.
It's that modern anxiety, isn't it? If I have a great day, but I don't post it to my story, did I really have a great day?
That's the question. Pics or it didn't happen. And the uncomfortable answer is, yes, you had a better day because you were actually in it. But the mirage tells us that if an experience wasn't seen by others, it wasn't as valuable.
This brings us to the core distinction. We've kind of been dancing around it, but let's really drill down here. Part 4, attention versus intimacy. The source really wants us to understand that these are not just different. They are almost opposites in terms of what they do to the human spirit.
They satisfy two completely different hungers. And confusing them is, I think, genuinely dangerous to our well-being.
So let's define them rigorously. Let's start with attention.
Attention is simply eyes on you. It is awareness from others. It is fleeting. It is often and usually impersonal. You can get attention from a stranger on the street by yelling. You can get attention from a bot that scrapes your profile.
And its primary function is to validate the ego.
Correct. It sends a message that says, I exist. I am important enough to be looked at. It feeds the part of us that wants to be a celebrity, that wants to be seen as significant.
Okay. And now, intimacy.
Intimacy is being known. It involves someone else seeing the cracks in your facade. It involves acceptance of the parts of you that are not performative, not polished. It validates the soul.
The soul, not the ego.
The soul. It sends a message that says, I am accepted as I am, not just as I appear.
So intimacy is about safety. Attention is just. It could be surveillance. It could be entertainment for others.
Exactly. But here is the crux of the confusion. The source argues that we seek attention, hoping that it will feel like intimacy.
That is the tragedy of it all.
Right.
We are lonely, we crave intimacy. But intimacy is scary and it's hard to find. So we go to the place where we can get the cheap, readily available substitute, attention.
We post the first trap, or the controversial political opinion, or the dramatic life update. We get the rush of attention. But because attention is just surface level, it doesn't actually cure the loneliness. It's like eating cotton candy when you're starving for protein.
Wow.
It dissolves instantly and leaves you feeling even hungrier than before.
So what do we do when we're still hungry?
We double down. We think, maybe I just didn't get enough attention. So we shout louder. We post something more provocative. We create this vicious cycle of seeking more and more eyes, hoping that if enough eyes look at us, one of them will actually see us.
But it doesn't work that way. It's a numbers game that can't be won.
No. You cannot accumulate enough attention to equal one single unit of intimacy. They are different currencies. You can't trade 1 million likes for one real moment of love.
This leads directly to the paradox of loneliness that's mentioned in the source. This idea that being seen online often leaves people feeling more alone than before.
Let's really look at the mechanism of that specific kind of loneliness.
Right.
Because it's a very particular flavor of isolation that I think is unique to our time.
Go on.
Imagine you have a public image, your performance, that is happy, successful, and thriving. Let's say you post a photo of yourself looking great at a party.
Okay, a common scenario.
And 1,000 people like it. They comment, you look so happy.
Yeah.
Goals, you're glowing.
Right, all the positive reinforcement.
But privately, in your reality, you are struggling. You are sad. You feel anxious. You actually went home from that party and cried.
Okay, I'm with you. The private reality versus the public performance.
The gap between that public image and your private reality. That gap is where the loneliness lives. It's the size of that gap that determines the intensity of the loneliness.
Why?
Because every time someone compliments your performance, hey, you're so happy, it just reinforces the fact that they don't know the real you. It reinforces your secret. It makes you feel like a fraud.
Wow. So the more praise you get for the fake version of you, the more invisible the real version of you feels.
Exactly. It creates this imposter syndrome of the soul. You start to think, if they knew the truth about me, they wouldn't like me. They wouldn't comment goals. So you feel utterly alone while being surrounded by applause.
Being seen is not the same as being held.
That's the line. You have to remember that. Being seen is not the same as being held. We have a fundamental need to be held, metaphorically. We need to be contained and understood by another person. Being watched just makes us self-conscious.
That explains so much. It explains why the influencer life, which looks so perfect from the outside, is so often associated with such intense burnout and depression.
Because they're being watched by millions, but potentially held by very, very few. The gap is enormous.
And this bleeds into our actual friendships too, doesn't it? It's not just about strangers on the internet. This is part 5, the shallowing of relationships.
This is perhaps the most insidious part of it all. It affects the people we actually know and care about.
The source claims that many relationships now feel shallow even when we're constantly connected.
Constantly connected. That's the illusion we were just talking about. We think we are connected because we're constantly exposed to a stream of information about each other. But as we discussed with your sister, information is not connection.
It's the illusion of keeping up.
Exactly. Think about the spectator effect. We have become spectators of our friends' lives. We watch their stories unfold like we watch a TV show.
Oh, look, Sarah's in Italy this week. Oh, interesting. Mike got a new car.
We are passively consuming their lives. And because we are consuming, we don't feel the need to reach out and ask questions. The update replaces the check-in. The broadcast replaces the conversation.
I've realized something about myself recently, and it's this. The more I see someone's updates online, the less likely I am to actually call them.
Isn't that wild? It's completely counterintuitive. It should be the opposite. Oh, I saw Sarah's in Italy. I should call her and ask how it is.
Right.
But the constant feed of low-calorie information, the little pictures, the short captions, it satiates your curiosity just enough that you don't make the effort to go deeper. Your brain thinks, I know how they are. I saw the pictures. But you don't. You only know what they broadcasted.
So we end up with this vast network of connections that is incredibly wide.
But incredibly shallow. We have contact points with hundreds, maybe thousands of people. We are lightly touching the lives of everyone we've ever met. But the depth, the real intimacy, it's evaporating because we are substituting the broadcast for the bond over and over again.
The key takeaway from the source here, the thing to repeat to yourself, is the mantra. Visibility isn't connection.
We need to write that on our bathroom mirrors. Seeing someone's content is not the same as connecting with their humanity. And having your content seen is not the same as being truly supported.
It really makes you rethink how we use these platforms. It's not that the platforms themselves are evil. I mean, I love seeing my friends' babies and travel photos.
Of course.
But our usage of them has drifted into this weird performative space without us even noticing.
It's a tool mismatch. We are trying to use a broadcasting tool to fulfill a deep-seated bonding need. It's like trying to eat soup with a fork. You can go through the motions all day, but you're not going to get nourished.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's try to synthesize all of this. We've covered a lot of ground. It's a bit overwhelming.
It is. We started with the allure of visibility, that it's the path of least resistance. We saw how it's just so much easier to be seen than it is to be truly understood.
We've explored how the act of sharing information has started to replace the act of relating to people, how we've confused the news ticker of our friends' lives with actual meaningful conversation.
We discussed how performing for an audience has replaced being present in the moment, and the huge cognitive cost of always being the director of your own life instead of living it.
And finally, that devastating but crucial distinction between attention and intimacy. The idea that attention feeds the ego, but only intimacy can feed the soul.
And that seeking attention to cure loneliness is a trap. It's a mirage that actually makes the loneliness worse, that widens that gap we talked about.
So where do we go from here? Because again, I'm not throwing my phone away. That's not the answer.
No. It's about intentionality. It's about recognizing the difference between the sand and the water. It's fine to broadcast. It's fun to be visible. I love Instagram. But don't confuse it with the nutrition of intimacy. Don't fool yourself into thinking that because you posted, you connected.
So you can have attention without intimacy.
All day long.
Yeah.
But you cannot have intimacy without presence. You have to show up without the camera, without the edit, without the filter to get the real thing. You have to risk being messy and uncurated.
It's about consciously prioritizing the better over the easier.
Exactly. Even when it burns those emotional calories.
Yeah.
Especially then.
We always like to leave our listeners with a provocative thought, something to chew on after the episode ends. And today's comes directly from the logic of all the source material we've discussed. It's a bit of a thought experiment.
It's a question that really cuts through all the noise.
Here is the scenario. I want you to imagine that tomorrow you decide to go dark. No social media, no posts, no stories, no updates, no status changes. You simply stop broadcasting.
Complete and total radio silence to the public.
You are still living your life. You're still going to work, you're eating dinner, you're struggling with something, you're celebrating a small win, but you aren't telling the audience about it.
Okay.
Here is the question. If you stopped broadcasting your life today, who would still know who you are? Who would know what you're struggling with? Who would know what you're celebrating? Who is in the loop because they are actually in your life, and who is only in the loop because they are in your feed?
It's a scary audit to run on your own life. But the people who would call, the people who would notice the silence and reach out to see if you're okay, that is your intimacy. That's your water in the desert. Everyone else is just an audience.
And then flip it. Look at the people you follow. Who are the people you are merely watching from a distance rather than truly deeply knowing?
Maybe it's time to stop watching their story and just make a call.
That is the challenge for this week. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time.
Stay connected, truly connected.
Thanks for spending this time with us on Coffee Break. If this conversation stayed with you, you can find more episodes here on the channel. Until next time, take care.